Leonardo da Vinci, born on April 15, 1452, in Vinci, Italy, remains one of the most celebrated figures in history, renowned not only for his artistic masterpieces, but also for his groundbreaking contributions to science, anatomy, engineering, and various other fields. His legacy has transcended the boundaries of his time, influencing countless generations of thinkers, creators, and innovators. Leonardo was a man whose curiosity knew no bounds, whose genius touched upon nearly every aspect of human knowledge. The vast range of his talents, from painting and sculpture to anatomical studies and mechanical inventions, has cemented his place as a symbol of the Renaissance's ideal of the polymath, an individual whose expertise spanned diverse disciplines. At the heart of Leonardo's enduring legacy lies his ability to see connections between disparate realms of knowledge. His art was not merely about creating visually stunning works. It was about understanding the underlying principles of nature and human experience. His paintings were a culmination of his deep observations of anatomy, light, and emotion. His scientific sketches and inventions, though not fully realized in his time, were ahead of their era, and many would inspire innovation centuries later. This synthesis of art and science makes Leonardo da Vinci a figure who cannot be confined to one discipline or field of study. Instead, he is a representative of the boundless human potential for intellectual and creative achievement. Leonardo's impact on art is perhaps best exemplified through his iconic works, such as The Last Supper and Mona Lisa. These paintings broke new ground in terms of composition, perspective, and the portrayal of human emotion. The Last Supper revolutionized the way that religious scenes were depicted, focusing not on the divine, but on the humanity of Christ and his disciples. This shift marked a radical departure from the more traditional, symbolic representations of biblical figures. Similarly, the Mona Lisa became the epitome of portraiture, with its use of sfumato, a technique of blending colors and tones, and the enigmatic expression of its subject, which has sparked centuries of speculation and fascination. However, Leonardo's legacy is not confined to his artistic endeavors. His notebooks, filled with sketches and observations on anatomy, physics, and engineering, reveal a mind constantly at work trying to decode the world around him. These notebooks, many of which are still preserved today, offer glimpses into his unparalleled curiosity and inventive spirit. In them, Leonardo designed flying machines, outlined the principles of fluid dynamics, and documented detailed studies of human muscles and bones. Although many of his inventions were never built during his lifetime, they laid the foundation for later scientific and technological breakthroughs. What sets Leonardo apart from many other artists and thinkers of his time is his relentless pursuit of knowledge. While his contemporaries often confined their studies to their respective fields, Leonardo sought to understand the world in its entirety. His belief in the interconnectivity of nature meant that he saw no separation between the physical and the metaphysical, between the artistic and the scientific. His life was a search for truth, where every observation, every experiment, and every painting was part of a larger quest to uncover the mysteries of the world. Leonardo's profound understanding of human anatomy is another testament to his intellectual prowess. His anatomical drawings, some of the most accurate of his time, were based on careful dissections of human and animal bodies. These studies not only advanced the field of medicine, but also influenced his approach to art. His paintings, such as the Vitruvian Man, reflect his understanding of proportion and the human body, blending the study of anatomy with the concept of ideal beauty. His anatomical studies were far ahead of their time, challenging long-held beliefs and laying the groundwork for future advancements in biology and medicine. Despite his monumental contributions to science, engineering, and anatomy, Leonardo's legacy is often discussed in the context of his art. His works, like the Annunciation and the Baptism of Christ, are celebrated not only for their technical mastery, but for the way they convey deep human emotion and spirituality. Leonardo was one of the first to depict human figures in a naturalistic way, capturing the nuances of light and shadow and the depth of emotion. His use of perspective and his innovative treatment of light set his works apart from those of his contemporaries. Yet, the story of Leonardo da Vinci is also a story of unfinished projects and unfulfilled potential. Many of his inventions were never constructed, and several of his artistic commissions were left incomplete. His painting of the Adoration of the Magi, for example, remains unfinished, as does his massive equestrian statue project. Even his most famous work, The Last Supper, was plagued by technical difficulties and deterioration. While some may see these unfinished works as a sign of frustration or imperfection, they also underscore Leonardo's constant pursuit of perfection and his unwillingness to settle for anything less than the best. His inability to complete all his projects only reinforces the idea that his mind was always moving forward, constantly seeking new challenges. Despite the incompleteness of his life's work, Leonardo da Vinci's contributions to the world are immeasurable. His influence extends far beyond the Renaissance period in which he lived. In the centuries following his death, Leonardo became a symbol of the ideal intellectual, someone whose curiosity and brilliance spanned multiple domains. His work has been admired by countless artists, scientists, and thinkers, all of whom have drawn inspiration from his ability to blend creativity with intellectual rigor. From modern engineering to contemporary art, Leonardo's influence continues to shape the world in profound ways. In conclusion, Leonardo da Vinci's legacy is not merely the sum of his artistic masterpieces or scientific innovations, but rather the enduring inspiration he provides to those who seek to understand the world in all its complexity. His work challenges the boundaries of what is possible and encourages future generations to think beyond the confines of their respective disciplines. Leonardo's life serves as a reminder that curiosity, creativity, and intellectual pursuit are limitless forces that, when harnessed, can change the world in ways that transcend time and place. As such, his legacy continues to inspire and challenge us today, reminding us that the quest for knowledge and beauty is eternal. Leonardo da Vinci's life began in the small town of Vinci, located in the heart of Tuscany, on April 15, 1452. Born to a notary named Piero da Vinci and a peasant woman, Caterina, Leonardo's early years were marked by a somewhat unusual family dynamic. As a child, he lived with his mother, but his father took him into his home later, after marrying a woman from a prominent family. Despite the complexities of his family life, it was clear from an early age that Leonardo was gifted. His intellectual and artistic inclinations were apparent, and he began showing a remarkable capacity for learning, particularly in the areas of nature and drawing. Leonardo's education, like that of many individuals in his time, was not formalized in the sense we understand today. The Renaissance period, however, was characterized by a cultural flourishing that placed a great emphasis on learning and the arts. In the absence of a structured school system, children of privilege often learned through private tutors or apprenticeships. Leonardo's formal education was limited, yet his early exposure to the natural world and his father's connections within the intellectual circles of Florence would set the foundation for his extraordinary future. At the age of 14, Leonardo began an apprenticeship in the workshop of the renowned Florentine artist Andrea del Verrocchio. This was a pivotal moment in his life, as it marked the beginning of his professional training and introduction to the world of Renaissance art. Verrocchio, a master painter and sculptor, ran a bustling studio that was known for producing a variety of works, including religious paintings, sculptures, and decorative art for public spaces. The apprenticeship not only honed Leonardo's skills in drawing and painting, but also exposed him to the broader world of engineering, mechanical design, and other artistic disciplines. Under Verrocchio's guidance, Leonardo learned how to prepare canvases, mix paints, and employ perspective techniques, all of which were integral to the success of his later works. While his formal education in art began under Verrocchio, Leonardo's education went far beyond the studio. The Renaissance ideal of the universal man was embodied in Leonardo, whose interests ranged from anatomy to engineering, from botany to philosophy. As a young man, he developed a curiosity that led him to study a wide range of subjects, often delving into areas that were not part of his artistic training. Leonardo's early exposure to Verrocchio's workshop allowed him to explore the intersection of art and science, a fusion that would become the hallmark of his career. It is said that Leonardo's insatiable curiosity often led him to ask questions that no one had thought to ask before. In doing so, he laid the groundwork for an interdisciplinary approach to knowledge that would define his life's work. During his time in Florence, Leonardo also began to form connections with some of the most important figures of the time. Florence was a cultural hub, and its courts were filled with scholars, poets, and thinkers. Here, Leonardo encountered the works of classical writers and scientists, and he was influenced by the humanist ideals that were sweeping through the city. Humanism, with its focus on the study of classical texts and the belief in the potential of human achievement, profoundly shaped Leonardo's worldview. His early exposure to these intellectual currents, combined with his innate genius, allowed him to develop a unique understanding of the relationship between the human mind, nature, and the cosmos. One of the most significant experiences of Leonardo's youth occurred when he was introduced to the concept of perspective in art. Renaissance artists, driven by a desire to create more lifelike and three-dimensional representations of the world, sought to master the techniques of linear perspective. In Verrocchio's workshop, Leonardo was taught the principles of perspective that would later feature prominently in his own works. His keen understanding of perspective and light would allow him to create more realistic, dynamic compositions in his paintings. This technical skill was an essential part of Leonardo's development as an artist and laid the foundation for his later masterpieces, such as The Last Supper and Mona Lisa. While Leonardo's apprenticeship at Verrocchio's workshop provided him with the necessary technical training in art, it was also during this time that he began to develop his own distinctive style. His early works show the influence of his master, but it is evident that Leonardo quickly began to explore new ways of representing the world. He became known for his meticulous attention to detail, particularly in his treatment of light and shadow. One of his earliest works, The Baptism of Christ, 1472 to 1475, reveals his growing understanding of the human form, as well as his innovative use of light and shadow to create depth. This painting, in which Leonardo worked alongside his master, marked the first indication of his remarkable talent and foreshadowed the groundbreaking innovations he would bring to the world of art. After completing his apprenticeship with Verrocchio in 1476, Leonardo became an independent artist, taking on commissions in Florence and later moving to Milan. Although his training under Verrocchio was a critical moment in his education, it was only one step in a much larger journey. Leonardo's relentless drive for knowledge continued throughout his life, and his education was never confined to a single medium or discipline. He constantly sought to expand his horizons, studying anatomy, mathematics, engineering, and botany, as well as experimenting with new techniques and tools in his art. In addition to his artistic and scientific interests, Leonardo's education also exposed him to the political and social landscapes of Renaissance Italy. As he moved from Florence to Milan and beyond, he encountered powerful patrons and rulers who would commission his work and shape his career. The patronage system was essential to the development of Renaissance art, and Leonardo's relationship with these patrons would be a critical aspect of his career. His time in Milan, under the patronage of Duke Ludovico Sforza, provided him with the opportunity to explore new artistic and scientific ideas, as well as to experiment with innovative techniques that would set him apart from his contemporaries. Leonardo's early life and education were marked by a combination of artistic training, intellectual curiosity, and exposure to the cultural and political forces of his time. His apprenticeship with Verrocchio laid the groundwork for his future successes as an artist, while his insatiable desire to learn and explore new fields set him on a path toward becoming a true polymath. The foundations of his genius were built during these formative years, and it is during this time that we can trace the origins of many of the ideas and techniques that would define his legacy. In conclusion, the early life and education of Leonardo da Vinci were instrumental in shaping the genius that he would become. His upbringing in Vinci, his apprenticeship with Verrocchio, and his exposure to the intellectual currents of Renaissance Florence all played crucial roles in his development as both an artist and a thinker. Leonardo's education was marked by a rare blend of technical skill, intellectual curiosity, and a relentless pursuit of knowledge. His early years set the stage for a life that would forever change the course of art, science, and human understanding. The period following Leonardo da Vinci's apprenticeship in Verrocchio's workshop marked the beginning of his rise to prominence as a leading figure in the artistic and intellectual world of Renaissance Italy. Florence, the city of his early education, was at the heart of the Renaissance, a cultural movement that celebrated humanism, classical antiquity, and the potential of the human mind. As Leonardo moved toward independent artistic work, he became increasingly immersed in this environment, which was teeming with creativity and innovation. His early commissions, notable for their brilliance and innovation, marked the beginning of a career that would change the course of art history. Leonardo's first known independent work was a commission for the Adoration of the Magi, 1481, a religious painting intended for the monastery of San Donato a Scopeto in Florence. While this work remained unfinished, it offered a glimpse into the artistic revolution that Leonardo was beginning to shape. The painting depicts the biblical scene of the three kings presenting gifts to the infant Jesus, a subject familiar to Renaissance artists. However, Leonardo's composition and treatment of the figures were radically different from traditional depictions of the scene. His use of perspective and the intricate detail of the figures and landscape set this work apart from others of the time. Even in its unfinished state, the Adoration of the Magi demonstrated Leonardo's growing mastery of his craft and his desire to push the boundaries of artistic convention. During this period, Leonardo began to develop a signature style characterized by a unique blend of scientific observation and artistic intuition. He was deeply interested in the natural world and sought to understand the human body in its most accurate and intricate form. This led to his pioneering work in anatomy, as he studied cadavers to depict the muscles and bones of the human body with unparalleled precision. His ability to combine this anatomical knowledge with his artistic talent allowed him to create more lifelike and emotionally resonant figures than his predecessors. It was through this scientific approach that Leonardo's art gained a sense of realism that was unmatched by any other artist of his time. As his reputation grew, Leonardo was increasingly sought after by patrons, and his next major commission came from the wealthy and influential Sforza family in Milan. In 1482, he moved to Milan to work for Duke Ludovico Sforza, where he was tasked with designing a grand equestrian statue in honor of the Duke's father. While the statue was never completed, this commission marked a significant turning point in Leonardo's career. In addition to his work on the statue, Leonardo also took on a wide range of projects, including designing military weapons, fortifications, and public works. His time in Milan provided him with the opportunity to explore a diverse array of subjects, from engineering to cartography, all of which fed into his development as a polymath. It was during his time in Milan that Leonardo began his most famous and celebrated work, The Last Supper, 1495 to 1498. Commissioned by Duke Ludovico Sforza for the refectory of the convent of Santa Maria del Grazie, The Last Supper is one of the most iconic works in the history of art. The painting depicts the moment when Christ announces to his disciples that one of them will betray him, a moment of deep emotional tension and drama. Leonardo's innovative use of perspective, light, and composition transformed the depiction of this biblical scene, making it feel immediate and intense. His ability to capture the emotional turmoil of the figures, combined with his mastery of space and light, has made The Last Supper one of the most studied and revered works of art in the world. Leonardo's approach to the depiction of human emotion was groundbreaking. In The Last Supper, he not only focused on the individual reactions of each apostle, but also on the complex interplay of gestures and expressions that conveyed the underlying psychological drama of the moment. This emphasis on human emotion and individual expression would become a hallmark of Leonardo's work, setting him apart from other artists who often relied on more static and idealized representations of religious figures. By portraying the apostles as real, emotionally conflicted individuals, Leonardo brought a new level of depth to religious art. In addition to his work in Milan, Leonardo continued to be active in Florence, where he painted the Virgin of the Rocks, 1483 to 1486. This work, which exists in two versions, one in the National Gallery in London and the other in the Louvre, demonstrates his continuing exploration of light, color, and human expression. The painting depicts the Virgin Mary, Christ, the infant John the Baptist, and an angel in a rocky, ethereal landscape. The use of sfumato, a technique Leonardo perfected that involved the delicate blending of colors and tones to create soft transitions between light and shadow, gives the figures a naturalistic quality that was groundbreaking for the time. The Virgin of the Rocks highlights Leonardo's interest in nature, human emotion, and his ability to create a sense of atmosphere that draws the viewer into the scene. Leonardo's ability to innovate in the realm of painting extended beyond his technique to his approach to composition. His works are known for their use of perspective, depth, and the careful organization of space, which allowed him to create scenes that felt dynamic and three-dimensional. His mastery of perspective, seen in works like The Last Supper, was part of a broader intellectual inquiry into the nature of vision and how humans perceive the world around them. His understanding of optics and the principles of light and shadow enabled him to create artworks that were not only visually striking, but also scientifically informed. As Leonardo's reputation as a painter, inventor, and intellectual continued to grow, his works began to take on a broader significance. His paintings were no longer merely religious or decorative. They became vehicles for exploring the human condition, nature, and the mysteries of the universe. His ability to blend scientific observation with artistic expression allowed him to create works that were not only visually stunning, but also intellectually stimulating. Leonardo's rise as a Renaissance artist was a result of his unique ability to unite the worlds of art and science, a synthesis that would inspire future generations of artists, scientists, and thinkers. In conclusion, the rise of Leonardo da Vinci as a Renaissance artist was characterized by his relentless pursuit of knowledge, his innovative approach to art, and his ability to challenge the conventions of his time. His early works, such as The Adoration of the Magi, demonstrated his mastery of composition and perspective, while his later masterpieces, such as The Last Supper and The Virgin of the Rocks, revealed his deep understanding of human emotion and his ability to create lifelike, three-dimensional figures. Leonardo's rise to prominence was not merely the result of his artistic talent, but also of his interdisciplinary approach to learning, which allowed him to fuse the worlds of art, science, and philosophy in ways that were unprecedented for his time. His success as an artist was a direct reflection of his intellectual curiosity and his desire to push the boundaries of what was possible in both art and science. While Leonardo da Vinci is primarily remembered for his groundbreaking work in the visual arts, his intellectual curiosity extended far beyond the realm of painting and sculpture. Leonardo's fascination with the natural world and his unyielding quest for knowledge led him to become one of history's earliest polymaths, with contributions to fields as diverse as anatomy, engineering, physics, and botany. His scientific inquiries were deeply intertwined with his artistic pursuits, as he believed that the study of nature was essential to the creation of realistic and compelling art. For Leonardo, science was not a separate discipline, but rather a tool for unlocking the secrets of the world and enhancing his creative expression. This chapter will explore the scientific aspects of Leonardo's genius, focusing on his anatomical studies, inventions, and investigations into the forces of nature. One of Leonardo's most significant contributions to science was his study of human anatomy. His passion for understanding the human body led him to perform dissections of both human and animal cadavers, a practice that was controversial and often illegal in his time. Leonardo's anatomical drawings, which include detailed sketches of muscles, bones, and organs, are considered some of the most accurate of the Renaissance. His studies were based on direct observation, and he made groundbreaking discoveries about the structure of the heart, the function of the vascular system, and the mechanics of the muscles. These anatomical studies not only contributed to the development of modern medicine, but also informed his artistic work, allowing him to depict the human body with unprecedented realism. In addition to his anatomical studies, Leonardo was fascinated by the mechanics of motion and the forces of nature. His notebooks are filled with sketches of machines and mechanical devices, many of which were ahead of their time. Among his most famous inventions are designs for flying machines, including a helicopter-like device and a glider, as well as a diving suit, a tank, and a mechanical knight. While many of these inventions were never constructed during his lifetime, they demonstrated Leonardo's ability to imagine technologies that would not become a reality until centuries later. His inventions were often driven by his desire to understand and harness the forces of nature, and his scientific curiosity led him to experiment with a wide range of materials and techniques. Leonardo's interest in flight, in particular, is a notable example of his inventive genius. He was captivated by the idea of human flight and sought to understand the mechanics of birds' wings and the aerodynamics of flight. His sketches of flying machines, such as the ornithopter, a device designed to mimic the flapping wings of birds, and the aerial screw, a prototype for a helicopter, are some of his most iconic scientific drawings. Although none of these inventions were built in his lifetime, they were based on sound principles of physics and have inspired engineers and inventors for centuries. Leonardo's vision of flight was rooted in his deep understanding of the natural world and his belief that humans could one day unlock the secrets of the skies. In addition to his mechanical inventions, Leonardo was also deeply interested in the study of fluid dynamics. His investigations into the movement of water, air, and other fluids led him to make important observations about the nature of turbulence, vortices, and the flow of liquids. His sketches of water flowing through pipes, as well as his designs for canals and water-lifting machines, demonstrate his desire to understand the principles of fluid movement. Leonardo's understanding of these forces was advanced for his time, and many of his ideas would later influence the development of hydrodynamics in the centuries that followed. His study of water, like his other scientific pursuits, was intertwined with his artistic practice, as he sought to capture the movement of water in his paintings and use it as a metaphor for the dynamic forces of nature. Leonardo's investigations into the natural world were not limited to anatomy and fluid dynamics. He also made significant contributions to the study of geology, botany, and the behavior of light. His notebooks contain detailed observations of plants, including studies of the structure of leaves, flowers, and seeds. He was particularly interested in the patterns of growth in plants, and his sketches demonstrate a keen eye for detail and an understanding of the mathematical principles governing nature. Leonardo's botanical studies were not only scientifically valuable, but also contributed to his artistic work, as his deep knowledge of plant life allowed him to create more realistic and accurate depictions of plants and flowers in his paintings. In addition to his studies of anatomy and the natural world, Leonardo was also fascinated by the properties of light and color. He made numerous observations about the way light interacts with objects and how it could be used to create depth, shadow, and volume in a painting. His exploration of the effects of light on the human form is most evident in his famous technique of sfumato, which involved the delicate blending of colors and tones to create soft transitions between light and shadow. Sfumato allowed Leonardo to model his figures with a lifelike quality that set his work apart from that of his contemporaries. His understanding of light and color also extended to his studies of the rainbow, optics, and the behavior of light in water. These investigations reflected his belief that the study of nature was essential to understanding the fundamental principles of art. Leonardo's notebooks, filled with sketches, diagrams, and scientific observations, are a testament to his boundless curiosity and his belief that knowledge was interconnected. He approached science with the same meticulous attention to detail that he applied to his art, and his investigations were driven by a desire to understand the world in its most fundamental terms. While many of his scientific ideas were not fully realized during his lifetime, his notebooks remain a rich source of insight into his thought processes and his methods of inquiry. They reveal a mind that was constantly questioning, experimenting, and seeking new ways to understand the world around him. Despite his numerous scientific achievements, Leonardo's contributions to science were often overshadowed by his work as an artist. Many of his inventions and discoveries were not widely recognized until centuries after his death, and his notebooks were largely forgotten until the 19th century. However, his scientific ideas were influential in shaping the development of modern science and technology. His visionary designs for machines and his observations of the natural world laid the groundwork for many of the scientific and engineering breakthroughs that would follow. Leonardo's ability to merge art and science, to see the world through both a creative and analytical lens, was a defining feature of his genius and has ensured his place as one of history's greatest inventors and thinkers. In conclusion, Leonardo da Vinci's scientific curiosity was a central aspect of his intellectual life and an essential part of his legacy. His anatomical studies, mechanical inventions, and investigations into the natural world demonstrate a mind that was constantly seeking to understand the underlying principles of nature. While his artistic accomplishments are more widely known, his contributions to science were equally significant and continue to inspire scientists, engineers, and artists today. Leonardo's ability to blend the worlds of art and science, to approach both with the same meticulous attention to detail and passion for discovery, makes him one of the most remarkable figures in history. His legacy as an inventor and scientist is as enduring as his work as a painter, and his contributions to both fields will continue to shape the way we understand the world for generations to come. The legacy of Leonardo da Vinci is vast and multifaceted, extending far beyond the confines of his own lifetime. Known primarily for his groundbreaking achievements in the visual arts, Leonardo's influence extends deeply into the realms of science, engineering, anatomy, and invention. His reputation as a polymath, someone whose interests and expertise spanned across various fields, has made him a symbol of the Renaissance ideal. He represents the epitome of human potential, the embodiment of the idea that knowledge and creativity can shape and transform the world. This chapter will explore the enduring legacy of Leonardo da Vinci, focusing on how his work has impacted both the art world and the broader fields of science and technology. One of the most significant aspects of Leonardo's legacy is his transformative impact on the world of art. His masterpieces, such as Mona Lisa and The Last Supper, have become icons of Western art, deeply embedded in cultural and artistic history. These works revolutionized the way in which the human form, emotion, and narrative were represented in art. Through his mastery of perspective, light, and human anatomy, Leonardo brought a new level of realism and emotional depth to his paintings, creating works that resonated with viewers on a psychological level. His ability to capture subtle nuances of expression, particularly in Mona Lisa, where the subject's smile seems to shift depending on the angle of view, showcased a sophistication and technique that was unparalleled at the time. The concept of sfumato, a technique that Leonardo perfected, is another crucial component of his artistic legacy. This method of blending colors and tones, avoiding harsh lines and edges, created a smooth transition between light and shadow, giving his figures a lifelike and three-dimensional quality. Sfumato, particularly evident in works like the Mona Lisa and St. John the Baptist, enabled Leonardo to convey an unparalleled sense of realism. It became a hallmark of Renaissance art and influenced generations of artists who sought to emulate his technique. Leonardo's mastery of these techniques set a new standard for artistic excellence, influencing the evolution of painting and helping to shape the trajectory of European art for centuries. Beyond his technical innovations, Leonardo's approach to art was deeply philosophical. He viewed art as a means of understanding and interpreting the natural world. This belief was reflected in his constant efforts to merge the worlds of art and science, using his observations of nature to inform his creative expression. Leonardo's works often sought to represent the harmony and interconnectivity of all things, a belief rooted in the Renaissance humanist ideals. This holistic approach to art, blending creativity with scientific observation, became one of his lasting contributions, inspiring artists and thinkers throughout history to seek the relationship between the natural world and artistic representation. Leonardo's influence extended far beyond his lifetime, especially in the development of scientific thought. His notebooks, filled with sketches and diagrams of inventions, anatomical studies, and scientific observations, have provided a treasure trove of knowledge for scholars and scientists. While many of his inventions were never realized during his life, his ideas were centuries ahead of their time. His designs for flying machines, for example, prefigured the development of aviation, and his studies of human anatomy laid the groundwork for modern medicine. Leonardo's ability to synthesize knowledge from various fields and apply it to practical problems is one of the reasons his legacy as a scientist and inventor is so profound. The scientific community, particularly in the fields of anatomy and engineering, owes much to Leonardo's contributions. His anatomical drawings are some of the most accurate and detailed of the Renaissance, and his studies of the human body significantly advanced medical understanding. His detailed observations of muscles, bones, and internal organs, drawn with precision and based on direct dissection, revealed complex insights into the functioning of the body. These observations were instrumental in shaping the development of modern anatomy, although they remained largely unrecognized during his lifetime. Leonardo's work in anatomy also impacted his art, enabling him to create more lifelike and accurate representations of the human body. In the realm of engineering, Leonardo's inventive designs were far ahead of his time. His ideas for machines such as the helicopter, the armored tank, and the diving suit were conceptualized long before the technological means to build them existed. While many of his inventions were not practical at the time, they demonstrated an extraordinary ability to envision technologies that would only become feasible centuries later. Leonardo's notebooks, which contain detailed drawings of his inventions, are still studied by engineers and designers today. His visionary approach to technology, informed by a deep understanding of physics and mechanics, left an indelible mark on the field of engineering. Despite his contributions to science and technology, Leonardo's legacy in these areas was not fully recognized during his lifetime. Many of his inventions and scientific observations remained unpublished, and his notebooks, written in mirror image and often cryptic in nature, were not widely accessible. It wasn't until the 19th and 20th centuries, with the rediscovery of his notebooks, that the full scope of his scientific genius became apparent. Scholars and scientists began to appreciate the depth and breadth of his work, which bridged the gap between art and science in a way that had never been done before. Leonardo's legacy is also marked by his ability to inspire future generations of thinkers and creators. His interdisciplinary approach to knowledge, blending art, science, engineering, and philosophy, set a precedent for the modern understanding of innovation. In the centuries following his death, his work influenced not only artists such as Michelangelo and Raphael, but also scientists like Galileo and Newton. The Renaissance itself, a period of intense intellectual and artistic flourishing, was shaped by Leonardo's example, and his influence continued to permeate the scientific revolution, the Enlightenment, and even into the Industrial Age. Moreover, Leonardo's legacy extends beyond the world of academics and artists. His name has become synonymous with genius, and his works are treasured cultural treasures, regarded as some of the highest achievements of human creativity. The Mona Lisa and the Last Supper are now housed in the world's most prestigious museums, attracting millions of visitors each year. These works are not only central to the history of art, but also serve as symbols of the Renaissance itself, representing a period when the exploration of human potential reached new heights. The enduring nature of Leonardo's legacy is also evident in popular culture, where his image and ideas continue to inspire. He has become an icon of genius and innovation, frequently appearing in books, films, and other media. His image as the quintessential Renaissance man, an individual whose intellectual curiosity and artistic brilliance knew no bounds, has made him a symbol of intellectual achievement and creativity. In many ways, Leonardo da Vinci has become more than a historical figure. He is a cultural archetype, representing the unyielding pursuit of knowledge and the transformative power of human creativity. In conclusion, Leonardo da Vinci's legacy is one of profound and lasting impact, not only in the world of art, but also in the realms of science, engineering, and philosophy. His masterpieces, scientific discoveries, and inventions have left an indelible mark on the history of human achievement. Leonardo's ability to merge art and science, to see connections between seemingly disparate fields, set him apart as one of the greatest minds in history. His influence can be felt in every discipline he touched, and his work continues to inspire individuals to push the boundaries of human knowledge and creativity. Leonardo's legacy is not confined to the past. It lives on in the ideas, inventions, and works of art that continue to shape our world. Leonardo da Vinci is often celebrated for his extraordinary intellectual achievements and groundbreaking artistic innovations. But the complexity of his character, his personal life, and his approach to work has remained a subject of intrigue for scholars and historians alike. While the general public may focus on his masterpieces and scientific contributions, understanding the man behind these accomplishments is just as essential to grasping the full scope of his genius. Leonardo's character was multifaceted, marked by an insatiable curiosity, a perfectionist streak, and a tendency towards solitude. This chapter will explore the psychological and personal aspects of Leonardo's life, considering how his personality shaped both his work and his interactions with others. One of the most striking features of Leonardo's character was his profound curiosity and lifelong quest for knowledge. From an early age, he demonstrated an intense interest in the natural world, and this curiosity drove him to explore a wide range of fields, from painting and anatomy to engineering and hydraulics. His notebooks, filled with observations, drawings, and ideas, offer a glimpse into the mind of a man who sought to understand not only how things worked but also why they worked the way they did. His habit of constantly asking questions, often written as rhetorical or speculative statements in his journals, reflects a mindset that was relentlessly inquisitive and never satisfied with simple answers. However, this curiosity was not merely intellectual. It also influenced his creative process. Leonardo's art was a product of this insatiable desire to learn and explore. He never viewed himself as simply an artist, but as a scientist and philosopher as well, believing that artistic mastery required a deep understanding of nature. For instance, his paintings were informed by his anatomical studies, his investigations into light and shadow, and his study of how objects move through space. This commitment to scientific observation was one of the defining characteristics of his work, and it also points to a man who believed that every answer in art or science led to further questions, perpetuating an ongoing cycle of discovery. At the same time, Leonardo's perfectionism was another defining aspect of his personality. Throughout his life, he was known for his meticulous attention to detail, whether in his art or in his scientific studies. This perfectionism sometimes led to unfinished works, as Leonardo would often abandon a project if he felt it did not meet his exacting standards. His tendency to pursue perfection sometimes resulted in frustration, both for him and for his patrons, who eagerly awaited completed works. It is said that Leonardo never felt fully satisfied with his artistic output, constantly striving for an ideal that he believed could never be fully realized. This drive for perfection, while contributing to his genius, also highlights a certain inner conflict, a desire for flawlessness in a world that was inherently imperfect. Leonardo's perfectionism, however, was not always matched by a consistent work ethic. In fact, he often exhibited a reluctance to complete his projects, sometimes leaving works unfinished for long periods or abandoning them altogether. His tendency to move from one idea to another without fully completing a task has been interpreted by some scholars as a form of intellectual restlessness, a sign of a mind that was constantly seeking new challenges and avenues of exploration. Leonardo's notebooks, filled with sketches, ideas, and incomplete plans, demonstrate this perpetual state of intellectual exploration. While this characteristic contributed to his brilliance, it also meant that many of his projects were left incomplete, a pattern that was particularly evident in his later years. Leonardo's relationships with others were equally complex. He had few close personal connections, and much of what we know about his life comes from the observations of others, which often present him as a solitary figure. Despite his fame, Leonardo appears to have been somewhat withdrawn, preferring solitude or the company of a small circle of friends and collaborators. He was known to have had a close relationship with his pupils, such as Francesco Melzi and Gian Giacomo Caprati, but beyond these professional relationships, he appears to have been more distant from others. This aloofness may have been partly due to his intellectual and artistic pursuits, which often required his full attention and focus, but it also speaks to a personality that was not easily satisfied by conventional social interactions. Additionally, Leonardo's status as an outsider in some respects may have shaped his character. Although he was born illegitimate, the son of a notary and a peasant woman, Leonardo's talent and intellect quickly propelled him into the circles of the wealthy and powerful. Yet his position as an outsider, never fully accepted into the ranks of the aristocracy, may have contributed to his sense of detachment and introspection. Leonardo never married or had children, and some scholars have suggested that his relationships, or lack thereof, were indicative of a man who was more focused on his inner world than on engaging with the social norms of his time. His lack of personal attachments may have allowed him to maintain the freedom necessary for his intellectual and creative pursuits. Leonardo's sexuality is another area of his life that has been the subject of much speculation. Historians have debated whether Leonardo was homosexual, celibate, or simply uninterested in romantic relationships. Some of his contemporaries noted his unusual detachment from women, and there are no records of him engaging in any known romantic relationships throughout his life. Furthermore, his close, often intense relationships with young male pupils have fueled discussions about his sexuality. However, due to the lack of definitive evidence, it is impossible to say for certain how Leonardo identified. What is clear, however, is that his personal life was marked by a focus on intellectual and artistic pursuits rather than traditional romantic or familial connections. Another aspect of Leonardo's character that has often been discussed is his spirituality. While he was deeply interested in religious subjects and frequently worked on religious commissions, there is no clear evidence that Leonardo was devout in a conventional sense. He often questioned the traditional religious beliefs of his time, seeking instead to understand the divine through the lens of nature and science. This more philosophical approach to spirituality is evident in his writings, where he frequently explored the mysteries of the universe and the workings of the natural world. Leonardo's belief in the interconnectedness of all things, including the relationship between the human body, nature, and the divine, reflects a worldview that was both spiritual and scientific in nature. Despite his personal complexities, Leonardo's work ethic and intellectual discipline were undeniable. Even in his later years, he continued to study, experiment, and explore new ideas. In fact, it was during his time in Milan and later in France that Leonardo's philosophical and scientific inquiries deepened. He spent the final years of his life working under the patronage of King Francis I of France, where he continued his studies of anatomy, hydraulics, and mechanics. Even though many of his works were unfinished, his notebooks reveal a man who was never content to rest on his laurels, but was always striving for new knowledge. In conclusion, the complexity of Leonardo da Vinci's character is just as fascinating as his artistic and scientific achievements. His personality was shaped by a combination of intellectual curiosity, perfectionism, intellectual isolation, and a deep engagement with both the natural world and the mysteries of human existence. While his accomplishments as an artist and inventor have cemented his place as one of history's greatest minds, understanding his personal life and character provides a fuller picture of the man behind the genius. Leonardo's willingness to embrace complexity, question conventional ideas, and pursue knowledge relentlessly is what set him apart and made his work timeless. His multifaceted personality, combined with his extraordinary intellectual and creative output, continues to inspire and intrigue those who seek to understand the nature of genius. Leonardo da Vinci's career was profoundly shaped by the system of patronage that dominated the Italian Renaissance. Unlike modern artists, who often rely on market demand or personal choice, Renaissance artists depended on the financial and social support of powerful individuals, institutions, and ruling families. Patronage provided not only the resources for the creation of works, but also influenced the subject matter, style, and scope of an artist's output. For Leonardo, patronage was not just a means of livelihood. It was an integral part of his artistic and intellectual journey, enabling him to achieve some of his most celebrated works and contributing to the unique character of his legacy. This chapter will examine the role of patronage in Leonardo's life, exploring how his relationships with patrons shaped his career, influenced his art, and provided him with the opportunities to pursue his varied interests. One of Leonardo's earliest patrons was the wealthy and influential family of the Medici in Florence, a connection that played a crucial role in the early stages of his career. The Medici family, known for their extensive patronage of the arts, were instrumental in fostering the Renaissance cultural movement, and their patronage allowed artists like Leonardo to flourish. It was under the Medici's auspices that Leonardo first established himself as a promising young artist, completing several works for the family. During this time, Leonardo came into contact with other renowned artists of the era, such as Michelangelo and Raphael, and benefited from the intellectual and artistic environment that the Medici court cultivated. The Medici family's patronage provided Leonardo with the opportunity to study, learn, and work on commissions that would lay the foundation for his later success. However, it was in Milan, under the patronage of Ludovico Sforza, Duke of Milan, that Leonardo's career reached new heights. In 1482, Leonardo moved to Milan, where he entered the service of Duke Ludovico, often referred to as Ludovico il Moro. The Sforza family was among the most powerful dynasties in Italy, and Ludovico himself was a patron of the arts, eager to elevate the cultural stature of his court. For Leonardo, this was a transformative period, marked by the completion of some of his most famous works, including The Last Supper. His relationship with Ludovico allowed him to engage in large-scale projects, from creating military engineering designs to exploring innovative artistic techniques. The patronage of Ludovico gave Leonardo the financial stability and artistic freedom to fully realize his creative potential, and the Duke's trust in his intellectual abilities allowed him to delve into the scientific and engineering projects that would become a hallmark of his legacy. However, the relationship between Leonardo and his patrons was not always without its tensions. Leonardo was known to be somewhat unpredictable in his work habits, and his perfectionist tendencies sometimes led to delays or unfinished projects. For instance, The Last Supper, one of his most important works, was commissioned by Ludovico for the refectory of the convent of Santa Maria del Grazie in Milan. While the painting remains one of the most iconic works in art history, it was not completed without complications. The fresco, which required a meticulous and innovative approach to composition and perspective, was plagued by delays due to Leonardo's constant tinkering and pursuit of perfection. Such delays were not uncommon in Leonardo's career, and they often created friction with patrons who were eager for timely results. Nevertheless, despite these tensions, Leonardo's relationship with Ludovico Sforza remained crucial to his success in Milan, and it was during this time that his reputation as a master artist and thinker began to solidify. In addition to his work with Ludovico, Leonardo's later years were also marked by a shift in patronage, particularly his time in France under King Francis I. After spending many years in Milan and Florence, Leonardo left Italy for France in the early 1500s, where he entered the service of the French king. Francis I, an enthusiastic supporter of the arts, recognized Leonardo's genius and offered him a position as premier painter and engineer and architect to the king. This royal patronage provided Leonardo with the security and status that he had not always enjoyed in Italy. His time in France allowed him to continue his scientific inquiries, and he worked on a variety of projects, including his studies of anatomy, engineering, and hydraulics. King Francis I not only offered him financial support, but also afforded him a level of artistic freedom that enabled Leonardo to continue his work without the constraints often imposed by Italian patrons. This period marked the final chapter of Leonardo's life and career, with his royal patronage ensuring that he had the means and resources to pursue his varied interests until his death in 1519. While his relationships with patrons in Florence, Milan, and France were instrumental to his success, Leonardo's approach to patronage was not without its challenges. Unlike some of his contemporaries, who were willing to accept commissions that adhered strictly to the tastes and preferences of their patrons, Leonardo was known for his independent streak. He often pursued projects that were intellectually stimulating or allowed him the freedom to explore new techniques and ideas, even at the cost of financial stability. For instance, he frequently sought to work on projects that combined both artistic and scientific endeavors, such as his attempts to create elaborate machines or study the human body. His reluctance to compromise his intellectual and artistic vision sometimes led to a lack of steady commissions, leaving him in difficult financial positions at various points in his life. Moreover, Leonardo's relationship with his patrons was often more transactional than collaborative. While his artistic genius was widely recognized, he sometimes struggled with the constraints of working under patronage systems that required him to complete commissions to the specifications of others. For example, the commission for the Adoration of the Magi from the monastery of San Donato in Scopito was left incomplete, possibly due to Leonardo's tendency to prioritize intellectual exploration over the completion of standard religious works. This abandonment of projects in favor of more personal or experimental pursuits has led some historians to question whether Leonardo's relationship with his patrons was entirely harmonious, or if his genius often clashed with the demands of patronage. Nonetheless, patronage allowed Leonardo to flourish as an artist and inventor in ways that might not have been possible otherwise. The financial support and social recognition provided by wealthy patrons like the Medici, Ludovico Sforza, and King Francis I gave Leonardo the resources and freedom to pursue his multifaceted interests. His access to the most prestigious courts in Italy and France provided him with the opportunity to engage in a variety of artistic, intellectual, and engineering projects, many of which would shape the course of history. Without patronage, it is possible that Leonardo's genius might not have been fully realized, as the financial constraints of an independent artist in the Renaissance would have been overwhelming. The relationship between Leonardo and his patrons was also reflective of the broader social and political dynamics of the Renaissance. The patronage system itself was part of the larger cultural movement that defined the era, one in which powerful families, monarchs, and institutions sought to display their wealth and influence through the commissioning of art, architecture, and scientific endeavors. Artists like Leonardo, Michelangelo, and Raphael played pivotal roles in this process, not only creating iconic works, but also contributing to the intellectual and cultural climate of the time. Leonardo's ability to navigate this system, building relationships with powerful patrons while maintaining his independence, was key to his success. In conclusion, patronage was essential to Leonardo da Vinci's career, providing him with the resources, opportunities, and social status necessary to pursue his diverse intellectual and artistic endeavors. His relationships with patrons, from the Medici to Ludovico Sforza and King Francis I, were central to his success, even as they sometimes created tensions due to his perfectionism and reluctance to compromise his artistic vision. Despite these challenges, patronage allowed Leonardo to create some of the most important works of the Renaissance and to contribute to the intellectual and artistic legacy of the era. The role of patronage in Leonardo's life is a testament to the interconnectedness of art, science, and politics in the Renaissance, and underscores the crucial support that artists and thinkers require to achieve greatness. Leonardo da Vinci is most widely known for his masterpieces in the world of art, such as The Last Supper and Mona Lisa, but his scientific endeavors are perhaps equally as remarkable and just as critical to his legacy. His approach to science was intrinsically linked to his art, as he believed that true artistic mastery could not be achieved without a deep understanding of nature and the physical world. Unlike many artists of his time, Leonardo's scientific pursuits were not confined to the realm of theory. He conducted numerous experiments, created mechanical inventions, and studied anatomy, astronomy, hydraulics, and engineering. His scientific contributions, although not fully recognized during his lifetime, laid the groundwork for many discoveries that would not be realized until centuries later. This chapter will explore the multifaceted nature of Leonardo's scientific endeavors, examining the ways in which his art and science were interwoven, and how his intellectual curiosity drove him to make groundbreaking contributions to a variety of fields. One of Leonardo's most significant scientific interests was the study of human anatomy. Throughout his life, he conducted extensive dissections of both humans and animals, producing detailed and accurate drawings of the human body that were far ahead of his time. His anatomical studies were not just about understanding the structure of the body for medical purposes. They were directly linked to his work as an artist. Leonardo believed that to capture the human form realistically, an artist had to understand the internal mechanics of the body, the bones, muscles, veins, and organs. His anatomical sketches, which included studies of the heart, the brain, and the muscles, were revolutionary. Leonardo's observations of the human body contributed to a more sophisticated understanding of anatomy and physiology. Although his findings were not published during his lifetime and were largely lost to history until later scholars rediscovered them. In addition to his anatomical studies, Leonardo was deeply interested in the mechanics of movement, both human and animal. He studied the way muscles worked in tandem with bones to create motion and investigated the biomechanics of the body's interactions with the environment. This interest extended to the world of machines and mechanical engineering, where he applied his understanding of movement to design various inventions. His notebooks are filled with designs for complex machines, including flying contraptions, war machines, and hydraulic systems. Although many of these inventions were never built during his lifetime, they demonstrate Leonardo's advanced understanding of engineering and mechanics. For instance, his designs for flying machines, such as the ornithopter, were based on his study of bird flight, and they foreshadowed modern concepts in aviation. Leonardo's contributions to the field of hydraulics were also remarkable. He designed numerous systems for diverting and controlling water, which included mechanisms for draining swamps, channeling rivers, and using water for power. One of his most impressive hydraulic designs was a machine intended to raise water for irrigation purposes, which he sketched in great detail. These innovations, along with his studies of water flow and the properties of fluids, were a testament to his understanding of the natural world and his ability to apply scientific principles to practical problems. Many of his hydraulic designs were ahead of their time, and they contributed to the eventual development of more advanced engineering systems. Beyond anatomy and hydraulics, Leonardo also made significant contributions to the study of optics. He was fascinated by the way light and shadow interacted with objects, which he explored in both his art and scientific studies. Leonardo conducted experiments with lenses and the behavior of light, investigating how light could be manipulated to create effects such as perspective, depth, and realism in painting. His work in optics influenced both his artistic compositions and his understanding of visual perception. For instance, his investigations into how light interacted with surfaces contributed to his development of the sfumato technique, where the blending of light and shadow created a more lifelike and nuanced effect in his paintings. Moreover, Leonardo's studies in astronomy, though less developed than his other scientific pursuits, reveal his forward-thinking approach to the cosmos. He was one of the earliest thinkers to challenge traditional geocentric views of the universe, contemplating the possibility of a heliocentric model. While he did not develop a fully fledged theory of the solar system, his musings on the nature of the stars, planets, and the movement of celestial bodies were groundbreaking for the time. His notebooks include sketches of the moon's surface, demonstrating his awareness of its imperfections. And he also studied the phases of Venus, suggesting a sophisticated understanding of astronomy that anticipated later scientific discoveries. In his exploration of various scientific subjects, Leonardo also made contributions to the fields of physics and mechanics. He was particularly interested in the principles of motion, gravity, and the forces that acted on objects. His study of the properties of water, the motion of fluids, and the mechanics of various tools and devices often bordered on experimental science. Although Leonardo's work did not lead to formal scientific theories during his lifetime, his insights into motion and force laid the foundation for later developments in physics. His design for a perpetual motion machine, though never successful, demonstrates his curiosity about the fundamental forces of nature and his desire to understand the laws that govern the universe. Leonardo's notebooks, filled with sketches, diagrams, and observations, serve as a testament to his relentless intellectual curiosity. His scientific inquiries were not simply academic exercises, but were intertwined with his creative pursuits as an artist. For Leonardo, science was not an abstract pursuit, but a means to better understand the world in order to represent it more faithfully in his art. His investigations into human anatomy, optics, and the laws of nature were integral to the development of his artistic techniques, enabling him to create more lifelike, realistic works. In this sense, his art and science were inseparable. Each informed and enriched the other. However, despite his many scientific contributions, Leonardo's work was not widely recognized during his lifetime. Most of his scientific studies were contained within his private notebooks, which were often obscure or incomplete. Additionally, the lack of formal publication meant that many of his ideas did not have the immediate impact that his artistic works did. It was not until centuries later that his scientific contributions began to be appreciated, and many of his inventions were seen as ahead of their time. For example, his designs for flying machines were rediscovered and studied in the modern era, and many of his mechanical inventions were later built and tested with varying degrees of success. However, in his own time, Leonardo's scientific work was often overshadowed by his fame as an artist, and his contributions to fields like anatomy, hydraulics, and engineering were largely ignored. Despite the lack of recognition during his lifetime, Leonardo's scientific pursuits have had a lasting impact on the fields he studied. His anatomical drawings were rediscovered and studied by later scientists, contributing to the advancement of medical knowledge. His work in optics influenced later developments in the study of vision and light, and his engineering designs paved the way for many modern technologies. Leonardo's ability to bridge the gap between art and science, blending empirical observation with artistic creativity, set him apart from other thinkers of his time and continues to inspire researchers and artists alike. In conclusion, Leonardo da Vinci's scientific endeavors were as groundbreaking as his artistic achievements, though they have often been overshadowed by his reputation as an artist. His deep understanding of human anatomy, his studies of optics, hydraulics, and mechanics, and his designs for innovative machines all demonstrate his exceptional intellectual curiosity and ability to apply scientific principles to practical problems. Leonardo's scientific contributions were ahead of their time and paved the way for many discoveries in the centuries that followed. His art and science were not separate pursuits, but were intimately connected, each enhancing the other. Leonardo's ability to merge art and science in a seamless, holistic way continues to make him one of history's most fascinating and influential figures, whose contributions still resonate in both the artistic and scientific communities. Leonardo da Vinci's death in 1519 marked the end of an extraordinary life that bridged the fields of art, science, and engineering. However, his legacy has endured for centuries, shaping not only the course of art history, but also influencing the development of science and philosophy. His work continues to inspire artists, scientists, and thinkers, underscoring the timeless relevance of his intellectual pursuits and creative genius. The lasting impact of Leonardo's legacy lies not just in his individual masterpieces, but in his broader contributions to knowledge and his role as a symbol of the Renaissance ideal, the polymath who seeks to understand and master all fields of human endeavor. This chapter will examine the enduring legacy of Leonardo da Vinci, exploring how his ideas, discoveries, and works have influenced art, science, and culture, and how his legacy has been interpreted and celebrated across generations. One of the most immediate ways Leonardo's legacy has persisted is through his monumental influence on the art world. His work, which fused technical mastery with profound emotional expression, set a new standard for painting and revolutionized artistic techniques. The Last Supper, Mona Lisa, and Vitruvian Man remain some of the most iconic and studied works in the history of art. Leonardo's exploration of light and shadow, his meticulous use of perspective, and his innovative technique of sfumato, the blending of colors and tones without harsh lines, were groundbreaking and have continued to influence artists for centuries. For example, his approach to human anatomy, studied through dissection, enabled him to create figures with an unparalleled sense of realism, laying the foundation for later developments in the art of portraiture and figure painting. Leonardo's influence extended beyond the Renaissance. His work had a lasting impact on artists throughout history, including those in the Baroque and Neoclassical periods, who continued to adopt his methods and themes. In the modern era, artists like Salvador Dali and Pablo Picasso have acknowledged Leonardo as a key figure in shaping their approaches to art. His idealization of beauty and human form, coupled with his emphasis on the intellectual and philosophical dimensions of art, influenced movements as diverse as Romanticism, Impressionism, and even Surrealism. In particular, Leonardo's Mona Lisa became a symbol of timeless beauty and mystery, inspiring countless artists and writers who sought to emulate its enigmatic allure. As a result, Leonardo's works remain central to art education, still taught and analyzed by art students and scholars around the world. Beyond the visual arts, Leonardo's contributions to science and engineering have also left an indelible mark on modern civilization. Though much of his scientific work was not recognized during his lifetime, his ideas and inventions would have a profound impact on the fields of engineering, anatomy, and physics in the centuries following his death. His designs for flying machines, though never realized in his time, foreshadowed the invention of airplanes and helicopters. Leonardo's anatomical studies, which included detailed sketches of the human heart, muscles, and skeleton, were rediscovered in greatly advanced medical knowledge in the 16th and 17th centuries. His observations on blood circulation and the function of the heart, in particular, were centuries ahead of his time and influenced the work of later scientists such as Andreas Vesalius and William Harvey. Leonardo's inventions also spurred later technological advancements. For example, his designs for mechanical devices such as the parachute, the diving suit, and the hydraulic pump were precursors to the machines and technologies that would be developed during the Industrial Revolution. While Leonardo's inventions were never constructed in his lifetime, many of them were revisited in the modern era and served as a source of inspiration for engineers and inventors. The concept of the helicopter, for example, found its roots in Leonardo's aerial screw design, which, although impractical with the technology available in his time, laid the groundwork for future innovations in aviation. His notebooks, which contained diagrams, sketches, and ideas for mechanical devices, were eventually studied by generations of engineers, helping to shape the development of modern machinery and technology. In the realm of physics, Leonardo's observations on motion and mechanics contributed to the foundation of classical physics. His understanding of the principles of inertia, acceleration, and the relationship between force and motion would later inform the work of scientists such as Galileo Galilei and Isaac Newton. While Leonardo was not able to formulate comprehensive scientific laws as Galileo and Newton would, his experiments with motion, water, and mechanics laid the groundwork for later developments in these areas. His idea of observing nature and drawing conclusions based on empirical evidence was revolutionary and laid the groundwork for the scientific method, which would become central to modern scientific inquiry. Culturally, Leonardo's life and work have also played a significant role in shaping the intellectual history of the Renaissance and beyond. His embodiment of the Renaissance ideal, an individual who sought to master many different fields of knowledge, has made him a symbol of intellectual curiosity and creativity. Leonardo's notebooks, which contain his sketches, observations, and musings, reflect his ceaseless pursuit of knowledge and understanding. They also demonstrate his belief that art and science were not separate endeavors but two sides of the same coin. This holistic view of learning, in which the pursuit of knowledge is interconnected across disciplines, has influenced educational theory, inspiring generations of thinkers who have sought to integrate the arts and sciences in their work. In addition to his artistic and scientific contributions, Leonardo's legacy has been shaped by his status as a symbol of human genius and intellectual achievement. He is often regarded as the archetype of the Renaissance man, an individual whose curiosity and intellect spanned a wide range of disciplines. This image of Leonardo as an idealized polymath continues to resonate in contemporary discussions of creativity and innovation. His life and work have inspired not only artists and scientists, but also philosophers, writers, and thinkers who have sought to emulate his interdisciplinary approach to knowledge. In this sense, Leonardo's legacy is as much about his enduring influence on the way we think about human potential and creativity as it is about his specific contributions to art and science. Furthermore, the fascination with Leonardo's personality, achievements, and the mystery surrounding his life has only grown over time. His works have become the subject of endless interpretation, with scholars, historians, and critics continuing to debate the meanings behind his paintings and writings. The Mona Lisa, in particular, has sparked countless theories about her identity and the symbolism in the painting. Similarly, Leonardo's enigmatic notebooks, filled with cryptic writings and unfinished sketches, have led to numerous interpretations of his thoughts and motivations. The combination of his brilliant achievements and the air of mystery surrounding his life has only added to his mythic status in both historical and popular culture. The popular fascination with Leonardo has also led to his becoming a figure of iconographic significance, represented in books, films, and other forms of media. The fictionalized portrayal of Leonardo as a genius inventor, a visionary artist, and a philosopher has contributed to his image as a larger-than-life figure. This modern interpretation of Leonardo has served to further elevate his status in the collective imagination, ensuring that his legacy remains alive in contemporary culture. In conclusion, the legacy of Leonardo da Vinci is vast, encompassing not only his artistic masterpieces, but also his profound contributions to science, engineering, and philosophy. His innovative approach to understanding the world, his interdisciplinary pursuits, and his ability to bridge the gap between art and science have made him one of the most influential figures in human history. The enduring relevance of his work in both the arts and the sciences speaks to the timeless nature of his genius. As a symbol of intellectual curiosity, creativity, and human potential, Leonardo's legacy continues to inspire and shape generations of thinkers and creators, ensuring that his influence will remain an essential part of our cultural and intellectual heritage for centuries to come. Leonardo da Vinci, often regarded as the archetype of the Renaissance man, left behind a legacy that has transcended time and continues to inspire countless generations. His genius spanned a wide array of disciplines: art, science, engineering, anatomy, and beyond, making him one of the most influential figures in history. The synthesis of his diverse talents, his intellectual curiosity, and his unparalleled creativity marks Leonardo as a unique figure whose contributions to human understanding remain as relevant today as they were in his own time. This final chapter reflects on the significance of Leonardo da Vinci's work and how his multifaceted genius shaped not only the cultural landscape of the Renaissance, but also continues to impact the modern world. Leonardo's ability to integrate seemingly disparate fields of study, art and science, theory and practice, remains one of the most remarkable aspects of his genius. He is often celebrated for his artistic masterpieces, such as the Mona Lisa and The Last Supper, which showcase his extraordinary technical skill, his deep understanding of human emotion, and his innovative approaches to composition and perspective. However, his contributions to the fields of science, engineering, and anatomy are equally significant, demonstrating his belief in the interconnectedness of knowledge. For Leonardo, the pursuit of understanding was not limited to one discipline, but required a holistic approach that bridged the gaps between art, nature, and the mechanical world. In this way, he embodied the Renaissance ideal of a polymath, someone who sought to master all areas of human inquiry. A defining feature of Leonardo's legacy is his methodological approach to both art and science. His notebooks, filled with sketches, diagrams, observations, and reflective thoughts, provide a window into his thought process. These writings reveal that Leonardo's creativity was not solely the product of inspiration or intuition, but also of careful observation, experimentation, and analysis. His scientific drawings, especially those related to anatomy and mechanical inventions, demonstrate his extraordinary ability to observe the world with meticulous attention to detail. His belief that true understanding could only come from first-hand experience, whether through dissection, experimentation, or direct observation, was revolutionary. This empirical approach to learning, combined with his artistic sensibilities, set Leonardo apart from his contemporaries and made his work an early precursor to the modern scientific method. Moreover, Leonardo's passion for discovery was not confined to the study of human anatomy or the design of machines. He was constantly seeking to understand the natural world. His studies of plants, water flow, and the flight of birds exemplified his desire to uncover the fundamental principles that govern nature. This curiosity about the natural world, paired with his artistic inclinations, led him to view nature as the ultimate source of knowledge. His observation of light and shadow, the play of colors, and the way objects interacted with their surroundings were not merely artistic concerns, but scientific inquiries into the laws of nature. His art was, therefore, an extension of his scientific work, and vice versa, with both serving as vehicles for his quest to understand the universe. Despite the breadth of his intellectual pursuits, Leonardo's works often remained private during his lifetime. His notebooks, filled with sketches and detailed notes, were not published in his era and, in many cases, were not widely circulated. As a result, many of his scientific ideas, such as his studies on blood circulation, the mechanics of flight, and his designs for various machines, were lost to the broader world until centuries later. This lack of recognition during his lifetime may have contributed to the perception that Leonardo was a more mysterious or enigmatic figure. However, the rediscovery of his notebooks in the modern era has allowed scholars and scientists to appreciate the depth of his contributions to a wide range of fields. Leonardo's ideas were far ahead of their time, and his intellectual influence has only grown as his work has been revisited and analyzed by subsequent generations. One of the most fascinating aspects of Leonardo's legacy is the timeless quality of his art. Works like the Mona Lisa, with its subtle rendering of the human face and its enigmatic smile, continue to captivate audiences nearly 500 years after their creation. The Last Supper remains a profound meditation on human emotion and spirituality, its composition and use of perspective still studied by artists and scholars. Leonardo's ability to capture both the physical and psychological dimensions of his subjects gives his work a timelessness that transcends cultural and historical boundaries. His art speaks to the universal aspects of the human experience, from the mysteries of existence to the intricacies of emotion and expression. In addition to his visual works, Leonardo's scientific investigations and inventions have influenced countless fields, from engineering to medicine. His designs for machines, though often impractical with the technology available in his time, anticipated many of the inventions that would emerge in the centuries that followed. His studies of the human body, particularly his detailed anatomical drawings, laid the groundwork for future developments in medicine and medical imaging. In many ways, Leonardo's scientific contributions were far ahead of their time, and it is only in the modern era that his genius has been fully recognized. His ideas about mechanics, flight, and the study of human anatomy have had a lasting impact on the fields of engineering, biology, and physics, among others. Leonardo's legacy also lives on in the way he embodied the spirit of intellectual curiosity and innovation. His life is a testament to the power of imagination, observation, and the pursuit of knowledge. Leonardo's work reminds us that intellectual boundaries are often arbitrary, and that true genius lies in the ability to draw connections across disciplines. He was not content to remain within the confines of traditional categories, artist, scientist, engineer, but sought to explore the intersections between them. This interdisciplinary approach to knowledge has become increasingly relevant in the modern era, as the boundaries between fields of study continue to blur, and the need for creative, innovative thinking becomes more essential than ever. Beyond his intellectual and artistic contributions, Leonardo's legacy has also endured in popular culture. His name has become synonymous with genius, and his image is instantly recognizable to people around the world. The fascination with Leonardo, both as a historical figure and as a symbol of human potential, has led to numerous biographies, films, documentaries, and works of fiction about his life and work. He has become a cultural icon, representing the ideal of the Renaissance man, the polymath who excels in a wide range of fields and seeks to understand the world in all its complexity. This popular image of Leonardo as a genius who transcends the limitations of time and place ensures that his legacy remains relevant in contemporary society. The enduring fascination with Leonardo's life and work also speaks to the profound impact that one individual can have on the course of history. Leonardo's contributions were not just the result of his extraordinary intellect, but also his ability to question established ideas and challenge conventional wisdom. His interdisciplinary approach to learning, his insatiable curiosity, and his unwavering pursuit of knowledge have made him a model for generations of thinkers and creators. In many ways, Leonardo's life serves as a reminder that true innovation often requires the courage to step beyond the familiar and embrace the unknown. In conclusion, Leonardo da Vinci's genius was not confined to a single discipline, nor was it limited by the boundaries of his time. His contributions to art, Science, engineering, and philosophy have shaped the course of history and continue to influence the world today. As a polymath, his ability to integrate knowledge across various fields and to challenge conventional thinking remains a model of intellectual curiosity and creativity. Leonardo's work speaks to the timeless nature of human ingenuity and the enduring power of the human imagination. His legacy is not simply one of artistic achievement, but of intellectual exploration, creative vision, and a profound understanding of the world. Through his art, science, and inventions, Leonardo da Vinci has left an indelible mark on the world, ensuring that his genius will continue to inspire generations to come.